Hello and good day. This is Punchline, and we are First News Nation. On Punchline, we discuss just national politics. Thanks for joining us on our social media handles on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Thank you for taking a step further. Enable notifications on any of these platforms to get latest updates on all our shows. I am Sammy Ajufo. Thanks for joining us. Before we go into the topic for today, we'd like to intimate you on a new development. In a few weeks, we will be commencing our online radio, News Nation. You want to be part of it, you're going to be hearing more about it. The adverts will be showing on this channel, how you could watch the program, how you could also be part of it. Live conversations on the internet is going to be really interesting. With that said, let's move into the conversation for today. President Tinubu has kickstarted his administration with the season of borrowing. So we have had the word borrowing from the President Buhari administration so many times. President Buhari borrowed and borrowed and borrowed till today. We can't even outline how much he has borrowed and how much we have to pay back. Now, President Tinubu has started his own season of borrowings, as is recently reported that he wrote to the National Assembly to give him permission to source for 500 billion naira. For what? For this word you have not heard in a long time. Palliatives. Yes, that's the word. Last time we heard of the word palliatives was when we had the COVID-19, and remember that issue of palliatives returned to bittersweet. But President Tinubu is deciding that he needs to find some palliatives for Nigerians because of the effects of the removal of fuel subsidy. So he wants to try and do some things to make sure that the Nigerians don't feel the effects of the removal of fuel subsidies, and this is what he calls palliatives. That word palliatives has returned. Now, where is this 500 billion naira going to come from? President Tinubu, this is the interesting part. President Tinubu is asking that he borrows this money from the 2022 Appropriation Act that was signed in December 2022 by his predecessor, President Muhammadu Buhari. 819 billion naira was written as, the money President Buhari was going to borrow. And what was he going to borrow this money for? President Buhari was going to borrow this money to help in capital projects. Listen carefully, capital projects. Most of the projects will include the devastating effects of the flooding that happened in Nigeria, to restore some facilities and to fix things that were destroyed by the flooding disaster that happened in Nigeria last year. That was why President Buhari was going to borrow 819 billion naira. Now, President Tinubu wants to borrow from the money that was borrowed from President Muhammadu Buhari. I think you understand it by now. So we are borrowing from the borrowed, who is borrowing from somebody else. And this money was supposed to be borrowed from domestic sources, our banks and all that. They were going to borrow the federal government 819 billion. That's President Buhari. Now, President Tinubu is asking for 500 billion out of the 819 billion that President Buhari is borrowing for. So President Buhari borrowed for relief from flood. President Tinubu is borrowing from that borrowed money for palliatives to fix, the fact that fuel subsidy was removed. It's a case of what I really don't understand. How are we going to stop the culture of borrowing? We have gotten so bad that we are borrowing from someone that borrowed. So borrow me 10 naira and I'll borrow 5 naira out of the 10 naira, and the chain just keeps going. So when we thought President Tinubu was going to get us out of this culture of borrowing, he just started his own by borrowing from what has been borrowed. Does this money exist? We don't know. Does the domestic financial market have the money? Possibly they do. How much is every Nigerian owing? Anyone that Nigeria has borrowed for? We've borrowed from China, we've borrowed from IMF, World Bank, now borrowing from ourselves. So that's the question now. How much is left out of that money? Or is this another way President Tinubu is trying to create a probe of the money that was appropriated in December 2022? As recent as a few weeks before President Buhari handed over, he still borrowed money. So is President Tinubu going to keep on the borrowing spree? That's a question we have to ask, and you drop your comments in the comment section below. Let's get to know what you think about it. President Tinubu borrowing money from money President Buhari borrowed from. I'm going to talk about that as time goes on. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe to all our social media handles, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, as well as YouTube. Take a step further, enable notifications on any of these platforms. So every time we have a new episode of the show, you will know. I am Sammy Ajufo. Thanks to my production team. I wish you the best. And don't forget, in anything you want to do at any point, as long as you're Nigerian, in this present government, do all you can to stay safe.